Hello everyone, welcome to another Fatal Rose Creations tutorial, and today we're going to talk about making a hat accessory. So the first thing you're going to do is get your programs open. I am going to use SimsFinds Studio and I'm using the latest version, and I'm going to use Blender 2.79. You can use Blender 3.3 from my understanding with this new SimsFinds Studio, but I'm going to be honest with you, I have not figured out doing so. So we're going to do it in 2.79, plus I have found that my things come out lower poly when I make them in 2.79, so that's just what I'm going to do. You can probably model it in any version of Blender as long as you export it as an OBJ and then do the steps to get it in game in 2.79, although if you use 3.3 then you can do the steps to get it in game in 3.3, but I think they're different than the steps in 2.79. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to use Blender 2.79, and you can also use Marvelous Designer, and I think there's another program, the same one that you use to make hair. I can't think of what it's called. So anyway, let's make a hat. So first thing I'm going to do is get a hat from SimsFinds Studio. So I'm just going to do this and then go. Do I not have a hat folder? How do I not have a hat folder? We're gonna make a hat folder. Hat. Alright. So I'm gonna create a place to save my hat. And I'm gonna name my package file. Cool. So just gonna click save. And then I'm going to take the mesh from here and I'm going to export this and call it hat base. And then save. Now I'm going to go into Blender and I'm going to open up that hat base. So go here, clickety click. And then I'm just going to hide the hat because we don't need it right now. First things we need to do is to make a hat. So what I'm going to do is try and make a hat kind of like this, and we're just going to be going by the seat of our pants. So yeah. Okay, and just so you know, this little box in the corner is just so you can follow along with my key clicks in case I don't verbalize them because I be forgetting sometimes. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a cylinder. And then I'm going to press tab and click faces and just click this face, press P in selection to separate it, and I'm going to delete the rest of the cylinder. And then I'm going to go up here and make it smaller by using, you can scale things by pressing S and then just moving your mouse. So that's probably good. I'm going to unhide the hat and try and get it at a similar angle. And then add E. There we go. Give it a little brim. Then I'm going to press E again and click and scale it down. Alright. Now we're going to try and build up. So E, click, up, E, 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 S. And up. Okay. So something like that is probably pretty good. Now I want to adjust it a little bit because, like I said, the shape's a little funny. So I'm just going to go into Edge and highlight and just kind of move things. If you want to select all the edges, you hold Alt when you right click. Alright, so we've got a basic shape of a hat. Now you see how it's kind of like pixely looking? I'm just going to go over here and click these buttons. And now it's all smooth. And then I'm also going to go to here, this triangle right here, and then normals and click auto smooth. And so now we have a basic hat shape. Now I want to give it a little bit more realism, I guess. So I'm going to go into sculpt mode, and I'm going to change this to grab, and probably make this kind of bigger. I'm just going to like pull on some places, like make some up and down. Try and make it look a little more floppy. Like right above her eyebrows. If we want to add a little band, we'll do another, actually we can do a curve, and then go to this one, and then geometry, and extrude it a little bit. Then we can press S to scale it down. So I want a thicker band, so we'll extrude it a little more. Click Object, and then Convert to, and then Mesh. And we can take this, press New, and give it a color. Alright, so now we need to get UVs for everything. So I'm going to go to Face Select, and just start clicking. I'm going to hold Alt, right click, and then press over here, click Unwrap. And I'm just going to move that to the side. Alt, right click, Unwrap, put it here. So there is a quicker way to unwrap like the whole hat. You can press A and then Smart UV Project and OK, but a lot of times I don't like how the map looks, so that's why I select it piece by piece and just unwrap it one by one. So now after that, we're going to go to UV map and double click this and change it to UV_0, and take this and make it UV_1, and then we're also gonna unhide our band, and we're just gonna click it and click the hat while holding shift. So click, when did that do that? Now click it, hold shift, click in a 3D space and press Ctrl J. That way it's all in one mesh now. And then after that, we can unhide our Sims 4 mesh. And so looks like it might need to be rotated up a little more. It doesn't have to be exactly where the Sims 4 hat is, but it does help to try and get it as close to that as possible. So now I'm gonna just name this hat, and I'm gonna go to the wrench, add modifier, and then data transfer. Before I do that, I'm gonna click this studio mesh and press tab, A, and then W, and I'm gonna subdivide smooth a couple times. Okay, so then we can go back to the hat and the add modifier. For source object, we're gonna pick our studio mesh, and then face corner data, and then UV1, and then apply. And then to check that the data transfer went properly, this is what their UV1 looks like. And so I should go to our hat and make sure that our UV1 is similar. And then the next thing we're gonna do is transfer the weights. So we're gonna go to object mode, weight paint, and then click studio mesh, hold shift and click our hat, weight paint, and I'm also gonna change it to solid mode. And then we're gonna click transfer weights by, change the source layer to by name, and change this to, or we can leave that. So now we just need to check. So studio mesh, for its low lip, it's all blue. For head, it's all red. For our hat, doesn't look like our weight's transferred properly. Why is there? Hold on. Oh, our weights didn't it wasn't, the hat was hidden. So for our head, it's red, and our low lip, it's blue, just like for this one. So the weights are the same. So now we can click Studio Mesh, press Tab, and then make sure everything's highlighted with A. Press X and Faces. And then we're going to take our hat in object mode and hold Shift and press Control J. Another thing, if you didn't want, another thing you can do in weight paint is instead of transferring weights for this specific thing, you could just click in the vertex group and then click weight gradient, and you can't tell because it's already red, but when you move it like down like that, it'll make it all red. And you would usually just leave this one alone because we want it blue, but I'll show you. So I click weight gradient, and you can keep clicking it to make it all red, but that's not what we want. But just showing you that's another way to do it without doing a transfer weight. So now we got our weights distributed. So the next thing we need to do is get our UV map where it needs to be. For some reason, our band UV map, oh, it's all the way down here. So if that ever happens, you can just unwrap it again. Yikes, that unwrapped really weird. And for this is gonna be annoying. There we go. Unwrap it. And for these ones, we're also going to want to highlight them and press space and then type edge and hit edge split, because you get some funky shading and when you extrude stuff and make it circled like that. So to avoid that, we want to edge split it, but you want to edge split it after you have already unwrapped it, because if you edge split it and then unwrap it, it looks really strange when you, here I'll show you. So if I edge split it and then unwrap it, it looks like that. So you don't want that. Alright, so it looks like we've got a pretty solid looking hat. Cool. So now we need to get the UVs in place. So I can't make this bigger. There we go. You're going to open and you're going to pull up your EA template. And sometimes after that, I'll just click everything and press E again, because it'll make it all ovally. So I'm just going to highlight A, scale it down, and then we're going to come over to the hat section. And so what we got here? So this can be fairly small because it's not really noticeable. Same thing with this one. Alright, so once we have our stuff in the template properly, then we're going to press A, X, New. Oh, and hopefully you've saved a couple times since you started. I have not. Don't do that. Definitely want to save in between in case you lose stuff. So we're going to change it to 2048 4096 and then click OK. And then we just want a tester texture. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to delete the diffuse map. Turn on all of our cameras, or lamps. Turn off the camera. We're gonna hide the rig. We're gonna file, save, because we haven't saved this whole time. And then we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna change this color to a darker pink. And change this to 2. Ow. And hit bake. Then we can go to image, save as image, test. And I'm also going to go here and change these to white. And bake that image. We're going to save that as AO. Then we're going to go into Sims Full Studio, import mesh, import our hat. And then go to texture and put our tester. And alright, so another thing we're gonna do, so we can assign those. I'm gonna open up Photoshop and I'm gonna open up the gonna open up the AO. And what I'm gonna do is just make some colors. And then what part of this is the brim? Or not the brim, the band. I think that is, and then these two little guys. Okay. So I'm gonna make another color. Do aqua. Paint bucket. And these guys. I'm gonna do this one too. And drop the AO on top, and then I'm going to change it to soft light. Then file, export. And that's just another quick way to make a simple, very basic texture. And now we can change our categories. So those look fine. We'll make it pink and blue. Appropriate for all these ages. Click when we can wear it. Alright, then we're going to save it. Okay, so another thing we're going to do before we go into game is I'm going to change this color to about, oh my gosh, this shade of red. Now I'm going to make a square, highlight everything, hold control, and then click rectangle, do the lasso. Select inverse and then delete. And then I'm gonna hide the other layers and I'm gonna change the opacity to like 15. And I'm gonna name that spec. And I'm gonna go in and put that under the specular map. And then the shadow map for this one, since we put the hat in the same exact place, should probably be fine. And then, so for the normal map, we're going to import, and then I have a blank one. I'm just gonna put it in for now, so we'd have to make a different one. But right now we're just testing, so we don't really need it. Undo that. And I made another one. Alright, so now that we're in game, I went ahead and found the hat, and we can take a look at it. And I would say it looks pretty solid. Obviously, it's not perfect, but we can take a look at how the textures turned out. I think that black and red one is really cute. And so as you can see, the textures from Blender are nice, but I think the ones from Photoshop are just a little smoother. Putting the ambient occlusion on top kind of gives it that shading, and also doing it in Photoshop is just quicker than doing it in Blender, and then you could put like patterns and stuff on it. And so after that, the next thing you want to do is just check how it works with hairs. And with hats, obviously it's not going to work with every hairstyle, right? There's probably going to be some hairstyles that don't work. But I like to test on a few hairstyles and see how it looks. And then I will also, I like to test a few, what do you call it? Custom content hairs. And I usually like to test Leia Lilith because I feel like she's a pretty commonly downloaded hair content creator, and same thing with S Club. So I like to test a lot of their hairs. You'll want to look here and then usually up front. If you lined your hat up pretty closely with the EA hat, then you'll most likely be fine. But there's some hairs like this hair doesn't work with like most hats. But the more hairs that you make your hat compatible with, the better. And another thing is I just like to test EA hairs. So I think all custom content should be made to fit EA stuff and not other custom content, just because, I don't know, that's just how I feel. I think it should fit both, but I think a safety net is to make sure it fits EA stuff at minimum, if that makes sense. That looks really cute. So yeah, so that's how you make a hat. And it's got a specular map and cool. So the other thing that you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to make the other levels of detail. So you see that's the original Sim hat, and that's not the hat we have. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna open up, actually I like to export the LOD 0, and we're just gonna call it LOD 0. And go to File, open that LOD 0, and this part is easy peasy. So I like to base my LODs off of the Sims resource. What the fuckity fuck? Oh, okay. So I like to base my LODs off of the Sims resource standards. And so what you can do to get that is you can just go to submit creations just like I did, and then scroll all the way down, and it's gonna go under accessories. So as you can see, our LOD 0 is 1,000 polygons, and it's already pretty much lower than the requirements. So what I'm gonna do, and so we really just need to make sure we hit 750 on LOD 3. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go down 100 each time. If your LODs are higher, or your polygons, say your polygons was 5,000 or whatever, then follow this guideline. Do 5,000, 3,000, 1,500, da 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 da. So I'm just gonna go to Blender, add modifier, decimate, and you can see what your poly count is right here. So I'm just gonna take it down 100. I'm gonna file, save as LOD 1, add modifier, decimate, bring it down another 100, file, save as LOD 2, and we're going to decimate it one more time, and I'm just going to bring it down another 100. Like I said, you won't normally bring it down like 100, you would, but since the polys are already so low, then it's fine. Just find a number that fits with you as long as you're hitting that. Your last LOD is 750, and then save as a blend file. And as you can see, each LOD level gets kind of funky looking, but what LODs are is when you zoom out of game, the more you zoom out, it'll cycle through the LODs so that your game doesn't have to work as hard if you're super zoomed out and there's 12 Sims in the scene. And they're really important, and if you are planning on uploading to the Sims resource, They will not allow you to upload if you do not do your LODs correctly. Cool. So one thing I did feel like, the hat is a little wide. Okay, so once you have your LODs done, you're all good to go. I just went through and made some minor adjustments to the size of the hat, just because it seemed like the bowl part was really big. But yeah, so that's all you have to do. You model a hat, make it do its weights and stuff, and then put a texture on it and call it good. And oh, and another thing to check is just make sure that when you walk, it doesn't move funky. Alright, but yeah, so that's how you make a hat in Blender 2.79. Thanks for watching my tutorial. Hope to see you in the next one.